Back here in another edition of Heavy in the Paint. Gerald Brown. I got Rick Mahorn, the bad boy. He's on the injured list as he's still recuperating, but nevertheless, he's here. But I'm holding it down, and I'm in awe. And the fact is that I'm honored to call this brother a friend. And you know what? All is one word I can always think about when I think about him, and it's a legend. And not only is he a legend, but he's a quality person. He's not a rapper. Please don't ever insult him saying that. I'm going to call him what he is. A lyricist, a MC, EMCEE, the legendary Masta Ace. Ace, I appreciate you, brother. How you doing?
What's going on, man? I appreciate that intro. Thank you.
I'm only telling the truth. Ace, you're also an Eagles fan, so it was real painful that, oh, there you go. You didn't have to do that. See, you didn't have to do that. See, come on, man. It was kind of painful that, y'all handled my Buccaneers like that. But I want to delve into the fact of the matter is Jalen Hurts has really, really been playing well. And I think that Jalen Hurts, and correct me if I'm wrong, agree or disagree, does he carry a lot of pressure for being that next quarterback where the expectations, look, he got them to a Super Bowl, but would you agree that he's perhaps that next quarterback that the expectations are very, very high for him to deliver a Super Bowl to the city of brotherly love?
Yeah, because once you give the city a taste of it, an NFC championship, a trip to the Super Bowl, now a city like Philly, the expectation is that every single year we're going to be right there. And, I hope he's not playing with that type of weight. He's always seemed to be he's always appeared to me to be the kind of guy that was very even-keeled, never too high, never too low, go with the flow, just be a leader. And if he can keep that mindset and not get caught up in the chatter, because I'm sure in Philly there's a lot of chatter, and don't listen to the positive or the negative. Just kind of stay right there in the middle and continue to play ball. The last couple of games, I just feel like he's been forcing it a little bit. He looks to me like he's allowing the play to break down a little bit too early. There's a good pocket there, and he's getting a little antsy and wanting to get up out and try to do something crazy, make a running throw kind of play. And those aren't always necessary. Last year, he stayed in that pocket. He only ran when he needed to run. And I hope we get back to that because the offense really hasn't been clicking on all cylinders like it was a year ago. And I think it's just a matter of him finding that sweet spot with the offense. He's got the weapons, so there's no question about that. The weapons are there. The defense is there. He just has to play consistent, solid ball. And, when the throw isn't there, be okay to throw it away. That's the most important thing. Because I felt like he started forcing some throws in that last game that he didn't have to force. It's okay to punt. We got a good defense. Throw it away.
I've been saying that the devaluation of the running back position has taken place. And you look at all these guys from Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, just to name a few, that really struggled to get their just due because obviously the mindset was, well, yeah, you can just go out and plug and play and get a guy, 6-rounder, and you take off. And Ace, thus far in this early stages of the season, I've come to conclusion on 3 fronts. Number one, Saquon Barkley is perhaps the best player on the Giants team, okay? He's your franchise player, right? Number 2, I look at my beloved Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who struggle to run the football. I think average about 3 yards per carry. When you don't have a dynamic running back, that really shows up. And in Philly, DeAndre Swift has been a man on a mission. And what he's been able to, and I understand you look at that offensive line in which they're going to infuse that sort of that push and stuff like that the Eagles have perfected. But when you look at that running back, especially a DeAndre Swift, does it really just bring back the fact is that, you know what, the value of a true solid running back is something that should be taken very seriously?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The key to success last year was balance. Um, a lot of those games that we won, Jalen was maybe, he was like 13 of 28 for 220 yards. And then we were running the ball 100 yards, 125, 130 yards on the ground. And that last game, I want to say at halftime, like we might have had like less than 10 attempts at running the football. Like what's going on? We have to be able to establish that run. I know the Jets got a good defense, but we can run the ball. You got to force your will. These running backs can help take pressure off of that quarterback position by moving those chains. It makes everything that much easier. So we need to rely on that excellent offensive line and that running back position. I think the owners are to blame for the devaluation of that position. Because of injuries, major injuries at that position and the amount of wear and tear, they've just concluded that, hey, maybe we don't need to spend, multi-million dollars on a running back. Let's spend $800,000 on two running backs, and split it up like that. So, that comes from the ownership and from the general managers around the league. I don't know how you fix that though. Going forward, look at the tight end, look at the fullback position, look at the tight end position. A lot of teams don't even use those positions anymore. Some teams don't even have a fullback in their lineup. I guess it's the way that the game is headed. The way that the game is structured now is mostly a passing league, and the running back position is becoming less and less important. But it's still the NFL. This is not the CFL. This is not Canadian football. So we gotta be able to run the football.
Yeah, he is the legendary hip hop legend, Masta Ace. Ace, hip hop celebrated its 50th anniversary, and congratulations to all that you have contributed with your art to hip hop. In that celebration you were a part of, what was your overall thoughts and how, number one, it was presented and how it was received by the masses in celebrating 50 years of hip hop?
I mean, it was a great representation here in New York City. The city bent over backwards, made a real effort to honor hip hop at many. I can't even tell you how many events there were happening around New York City. I couldn't even attend half of them. There was almost an event every week, and all of those events were sponsored by the city. The artists got paid. The fans got to go see these shows for free. Everything about it was just, a real honor and great to see. I was fortunate to be, involved in a few of those events and get the opportunity to perform in New York City, which I don't do very often. But 50 years, that's the milestone that we've reached. I said in an interview recently that there are definitely parties that predate that party in 1973 that Kool Herc and his sister threw. There were parties that predate that. Those parties were happening all around New York City, not just in the Bronx. They were happening in Queens and in Brooklyn, and I'm sure in Harlem as well. But because we have documentation that we can point to, the flyer, we can see, how much it was to get into the party, $2, whatever it was. So because that flyer existed and because we were able to document that date, that party happened on that date, I guess for historians, they've decided that was a good place to say, okay, this is where it started. But, I always try to be clear when I'm speaking about the 50 years that that's just a date that we've kind of chosen as the date to celebrate. And that's okay. I'm okay with it. But I also want to be very clear that, I'm confident that there were parties, very similar parties happening in New York that predate that party.
Yeah. When you look at hip hop and you see the growth and how it has spun in so many different directions. And, I don't want to get into this thing about, not liking the mumble rap and all that stuff. Look, it's art to some people. God bless them, whatever. But when you look at hip hop, how important do you think it was for that celebration or acknowledgement of 50 years of hip hop, in a sense, to remind and sort of introduce the past with the present to hopefully impact the future?
I mean, I really hope that the younger artists and the younger fans have paid attention to what has happened this year in terms of the celebrations, in terms of the different artists that paved the way. I'd like to think that they paid attention. A lot of the newer artists are actually sampling and redoing songs that happened, 20, 30 years ago. They're bringing those loops back, those samples back. I don't know if that's because they're aware of these artists or because they just like, oh, that was a hit back in '95, so I'm gonna redo it and make it a hit in 2003. But I'd like to think that this celebration, this big 50-year celebration, was a way for young artists and young fans to just kind of wake up a little bit, pay attention to what else was happening before they got here, and hopefully they'll, acknowledge, pay attention to it, maybe even go back and start listening to some of that music and see what they missed.
You're a guy that pretty much you get an opportunity to travel the world. And I've reached out to you times and, you'll be on your way to Austria, this place, that place. How surprised have you been how receptive Europe has been in embracing hip hop, the culture, a little bit more, if you will, than actually the United States? How surprised and impressed have you been by that?
I mean, I was surprised initially traveling there for the first times. Like my first real true tour throughout Europe was in 2000. Mm-hmm. And it was mostly in the UK. I think I did like 13 or 14 shows. And that was I'd done a bunch of shows here in the States, but that was my first time doing an extensive run there. And to my surprise, these clubs were full of people and the people knew the songs and the people were rocking and making noise and crowd participation was amazing. And it was at that point that I said, there's still an audience out there for me. The audience might not be in the United States anymore because I don't have songs on the radio. And we know that the American market is driven by commercial radio play. That's what fans pay attention to the most, the commercial fans. If you're not on the radio, they don't know that you exist. That's not the case in Europe. And in Europe, it's not about radio play. It's really word of mouth. It's grassroots. It's, digital downloads. When I first dropped in 2001, it was what was it called? It was called Napster. Like dudes were file sharing with Napster and stuff like that. And that's how people got my album and got the music. They didn't pay for it, but they got the music. And so when I hit those stages in 2001 and all those years later, they were familiar with the songs because they shared it with their friends and they put each other on to new music. And that's what we used to do in the early days of hip hop. There was no internet. So we would share the music through cassette tapes. Yo, let me get a copy of that. Let me tape that. You would dub. So you might have a dub of a dub of a dub. And it might be dirty, but you could still hear the music. You could still hear what was going on. And so in that same way, that's what they did in Europe. And they passed that music on to their friends, to their friends' friends. And because I kept releasing music, I was able to continue to build a fan base over there over the course of 20 years. And so I have fans now, that were 18 when those albums dropped in 2001 and 2004. They were 18 years old, 19 years old. Now they're in their 30s, approaching 40, and they're telling me, yeah, my very first concert I ever went to was when you performed in Germany at such and such city, at such and such venue. And I'm like, wow. Okay, so I made an impact on a whole new generation of fans that would not have known me if I hadn't put that album out.
Yeah. What in traveling abroad, what has been a scene that kind of blew your mind in a positive way, where you've been in a country and there's something that just kind of blew your mind? I mean, was it Turkey where you see dudes walking by, what up, God? You know, your son. Where has that been a moment that just kind of been like, wow, this hip hop?
Poland comes to mind. Because I've done a couple of shows in Poland over the years, and the enthusiasm of the fans there, the energy is like crazy. I remember doing a festival in Poland, and after the show, there was like a merch tent that we were gonna go to, and we were gonna, sign some autographs like we always do after every show. And they escorted us with it looked like 5 or 6 SWAT team police officers. Like they had the gear on, the vest, the whole 9 yards. I'm like, man, what's really good? We just going to sign some order. Like we don't need security like that. And they were like, no, trust me. These fans are very aggressive. And within, 15, 20 minutes of signing autographs and taking pictures with people, something kind of happened. It got a little chaotic, and the cops were like, okay, we must go now. And they grabbed all of our stuff and they just walked us out of the festival. And I to this day, I don't know exactly what the issue was, but I think it was just overzealous, over enthusiastic male fans that had probably drank a little bit too much. And, they wanted to get close to us. And the police didn't like the level of aggressiveness. And so they were like, we got to go. And they ran us out of there quick. I was like, damn. But that's just, that's one of those things that you see overseas that you won't really see here from an artist, for an artist like me. That's more like on these big name artist level, the Justin Bieber type people that might deal with that here in the States.
Well, I'm gonna tell you like this. I'm not gonna let you sit up here, and you're a very humble brother, and minimize the fact is that you know what, your skill, and that's why I always say that a lyricist, because again, in hearing your work, even before I even met you in that school, and just I was like, wow, it's an art when you're able to use lyrics and words to paint a picture and something that you can relate to. And I've always been fascinated by it. And there's not too many cats that can do that. That's why I say when you're a lyricist, that you're a true lyricist and true MC. And to see that you've been able to do all these things, and now you branch off and getting into other things outside of hip hop. Talk about just making that transition from being in front of the microphone to doing all the other things, playing theater and stuff like that. Talk about how you got interested in that, and what are your aspirations with that moving forward?
So I just finished writing a musical called The Falling Season.
Congrats.
And it's not too far. It's still a hip hop project. So in a lot of ways, it really is still a hip hop project, but it's a different presentation. But at the end of it, I'm still a writer. That's what it boils down to for me. Yeah, I'm a rap artist, performer, a lyricist, all of that. But at the end of it, what I'm doing is writing. And so this wasn't too far removed from what I do. You're familiar with a lot of my albums have skits on them and storylines. And so a lot of those albums that had the skits and the storylines, I had to write actual scripts for the people that came in and played those roles on those skits. And so that was kind of like the early testing ground for me in terms of writing a script and then kind of directing somebody on how to say it or whatever. But it was a natural progression into this next phase, which is me now becoming a first-time playwright. And we have this musical that I wrote called The Falling Season, which is named after one of my albums. The storyline of the musical is loosely based on a few of the albums that I've released: Disposable Arts, Aloha Summer, The Falling Season, loosely based on those stories, but also there's aspects of the story that are actually my story. So I try to kind of incorporate all of that into that main character. You know, people who have seen it, they ask, "Is that you?" It's not me. It doesn't mirror my life. It's not my identical life, right? So it's loosely based on, but there are aspects of this main character's life that aren't part of my character. They weren't part of my story. So it's fiction, but it's based in reality to a certain extent. And yeah, we had a stage read on June 1st and June 2nd where we had an audience of investors and some theater people, some Broadway folks came through, and the reaction was overwhelmingly positive, and people really loved what they saw. So now the next step for us is to get it invested. My goal is to open this thing in London in a year or two. That's where I want to set it off. We're not aiming for Broadway yet. We're aiming for London, the West End or off West End. We have our budget. We have our calls into some key investors that are super interested. And once we get this thing off the ground in London, then we can talk Broadway down the road. But right now, our North Star right now is London.
You're a writer, and this is interesting in when you're talking about that. And we see, like we said before, this has been the year of hip hop being sort of in a sense pushed to the forefront. And I don't like to always I don't want to use old school hip hop. No, it's hip hop because I've always felt good music transcends times. You know, if you got something hot, you know, it transcends time. It's not about it's old and all this other stuff. And I think it's only this genre of music that is viewed that way because hell, Rolling Stones are still touring and stuff like that. And no disrespect to them at all. But and being a writer, talk about some of these documentaries and stuff because, you know, I understand you've been working on a documentary and think about doing some documentaries. And there's one that's out there that I'm just waiting to be told, especially in this space that obviously hip hop is at the forefront. That Juice Crew documentary. They need to tell that Juice Crew documentary.
It's not being shot. And there's nothing being shot, you know, not that I'm aware of, but, you know.
Well, you need to do it.
Well, it was going to be a biopic. The last I heard that they were working on a biopic, and there was a couple of directors that were involved. I don't know where they are with that. It kind of got quiet. I was hearing some stuff like 5 years ago. I know Kane was involved. Marley was involved. I tell them just like, let me know when it's happening. Like other than that, it's just, it's all talk until it's not talk. You know what I mean? So I've been hearing about this biopic for the last 6-7 years. And so far they have not, you know, they have not started filming. So, and they haven't casted it. So this is still kind of behind the scenes talk. As far as my doc, there's a filmographer by the name of Jay Anders who has been following me for probably the past 6 or 7 years.
Wow.
He's been on tour with us a couple of times since when we were in Europe. He's traveled with us to quite a few places actually. And he's capturing footage of my life on the road while he's trying to kind of cover this transition of an artist, of a classic artist, transitioning from making music and touring to becoming a playwright. And so he's been filming this process from the very beginning. Like, I'm in the hotel room doing dramaturg sessions with the dramaturg and going over lines and reading the lines. So he's been following this thing for a minute, video shoots, everything. So he's got tons and tons of footage over the past 7 years. And, you know, once we open in London with this musical, that's when I think he'll have his final scene. And that's kind of, I think that's what his vision is for the doc to kind of start with that opening night in London, and kind of that would be that's where the story will end up. But we'll see how he gets it there.
Ace, so, in closing, we get a few more minutes. I want to just ask you about that. Any aspirations of writing movies or TV shows and stuff? Or is it just really in the theater space that would you like to sort of live?
I have a TV show that I wrote. I have 3 episodes that I wrote. It actually I started writing it when I first started writing the musical. I kind of took a break from it because I got this TV show idea. And I started focusing on that, and I left the musical alone for a few months. And during that time, I wrote 3 episodes. I really like it a lot. The few people that have read it are like, "Yo, this has to be on TV." And so, yes, there are aspirations for other things. And I think the musical will be a good way to kind of introduce the world to me as a writer. And then once we have success with that, then the TV show is just kind of sitting on my laptop, just waiting. It's just waiting patiently. But that time will come, and we're gonna get that shot, and you're gonna love it. Trust me.
Definitely gonna be the case. Ace, outside of you always on your bike, like riding like different cities and stuff like that, what is the goal for your Philadelphia Eagles this season? What's the realistic goal, Ace?
The realistic goal is to make the playoffs, to get a home playoff game, and from there we let the chips fall where they may. I'm cool with making the playoffs, getting a home playoff game, and then just playing football and seeing what happens. I don't like to say Super Bowl or NFC Championship because so many different factors can happen between now and then. But I think it's realistic for us to win the division, make the playoffs.
You're the best team in the division. Come on, Ace. You know better than that. You're the best team in the division. Stop it. Come on.
You can be the best team in the division and still not win it.
Come on.
That's
the coach of you. Coach of high school football, that's the coach of you. I respect that. I respect.
Absolutely. Don't count your chickens.
Ace, you have so much going on. Where can people really stay abreast on all that you have going on and really just, again, follow the music, everything that you have taking place?
My IG is the best place. Masta Ace Pics, PICS. That's the best place because I'm the most active there. I do have a Facebook, Masta Ace Official, but I'm not on Messenger. I rarely check Facebook messages. So if you're sending me stuff on there, I'm not going to probably see it for 3 months. If you want to send me a DM, send it through Instagram, Twitter @Masta Ace. I'm also active there as well. So either one of those places. And yeah, I anything that's going on, I always post. This Saturday night, I have a meet and greet, a autograph signing, and a meet and greet at a place in Millburn, New Jersey. And so that's going to be pretty cool. The guy who set it up, he actually has one of these memorabilia companies where they do all these autograph signings for athletes. So his next business model is to try to create these kind of events that they do for athletes to do these for hip hop artists. So I'm one of his first kind of ventures into this world. He's bringing a bunch of memorabilia that I'm going to sign, and then they're going to sell it on the website and stuff like that. It's a paid gig for me, but for the fans that are there, by all means, come say hello, come through, I'll sign something for you, however you, or just come say what up. But that's Saturday night, starts at 9 p.m. and it's at the Moonshine Supper Club in Millburn, New Jersey.
Yeah, that's good. Ace, this is my last question to you, man. And again, being able to know you for quite some time and stuff, and this might sound crazy, but a person of your status and stature, why are you so humble? Like so humble. I'm like, yo, and honestly, we have a mutual friend at BJ Armstrong, and every time always said, Ace is such a great dude. Because I think he went to the show with you out in Cali, and he like, Ace such a great dude, man. Not a good dude, great dude. And you've been like that from day one, my brother. Why are you so humble?
It's the only way I know how to be. Early in my career, I got to be around people in my industry, with some of the biggest, most outrageous egos. And some of them were our heroes, people that we looked up to. And then we got to see, the ego and to see how that ugly side. And you're like, damn, like I looked up to this guy, but now I see how he really is. And in some cases, I experienced that with sports as well. Certain athletes that you looked up to, that you really just always wanted to meet. And then you finally meet them. And then you're like, damn, like he was kind of an asshole. So so just having those experiences and seeing that has kind of made me know, like, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that to people. I don't want people to get that from me when they experience me or meet me. So, when I'm doing shows in Europe, after every single show, we go to the merch table and we sit there for an hour, 2 hours if you need to. And I sign every item somebody hands me. I take a picture with every person that wants to take a picture. Because that's what it's about at the end of the day. It's not about being a big superstar and your head out, so big that you can't fit in the room. It's just about, getting that energy from the people and giving it back to them. And people appreciate it. Trust me, people really appreciate you hanging back, staying, taking that last photo. They appreciate it. So that's why I do it. And I won't ever change.
Yeah. Listen, brother, I always sincerely appreciate your time, because I know your time is very, very precious. And thank you so much for, again, sharing this insight, because I think every time you came on NBA radio, we was talking NBA and all this stuff. And I know the passion is the NFL, and got to get you on Mad Dog Sports Radio, because, again, your love for football, but more importantly, man, it's just that I appreciate your art, and honestly, outside of being a friend, I'm a fan, because, again, not everybody can do what you do and have done it as long as you have done it. And I salute you more than anything as the artist that you are, but more importantly, the human being and the kind person you are. And I definitely appreciate your time, you and your family. Man. Continued success and blessings in all that you do. And we definitely gonna stay in contact a little bit more. That's on me. I gotta do a little bit more. But you traveling. If you ain't traveling, you on your bike. And I can't keep up with you. I don't ride that fast.
I don't ride fast. I ride at my pace, man. The guys I ride with ride fast. I don't ride.
But Ace, you ride all over. Y'all, I see you ride from what? You ride from Jersey, to Philly? Like all these crazy places, man.
I'll do some miles, but I'm not riding. I'm not fast. Like some of the guys have really fast bikes, and I can't keep up with those dudes. But I ride at my pace, and I get there. Definitely.
But you know what? Definitely gonna hang with you. He is the legendary Masta Ace. Joining me, heavy in the paint, Gerald Brown. It's another episode in the books. Peace, love, and keep it light right here